All right, let's take a look at this problem solver. And we'll read it, we'll cube it, and then, yeah, I'll show you how to solve it in each step. So we have the rectangular projection screen in the school NPR is 5 times as long and 5 times as wide as the rectangular screen in Mr. Reitano's classroom. The screen in Mr. Reitano's room is 4 feet long with a perimeter of 14 feet. What is the perimeter of the screen in the NPR? All right, so there's a lot going on here, guys. Let's go ahead and cube it first. So the rectangular projection screen in the school NPR is 5 times as long, so we'll circle that, and 5 times as wide as the rectangular screen in Mr. Reitano's classroom. The screen in Mr. Reitano's room is 4 feet long, so it tells us our length, with a perimeter of 14 feet. So it tells us the perimeter, and it looks like it tells us the length, but yeah, we don't have the width on that. All right, so the question we need to solve here is what is the perimeter? What is the perimeter of the screen in the NPR? All right, so we underline the question. To put a box around any clue words, let me see here. What words really jump out at me that tells me what kind of operations to do? All right, how about this? That the NPR is 5 times as long and 5 times as wide as Mr. Reitano's classroom. And I think that's all it tells me what to do. So I'm definitely going to multiply in this one. That's part of my plan. Okay, so let's start solving this. So to bring everything out of the problem to what I know what I know from the problem. Looks like we start with the NPR, okay? And what we know from the NPR is that it's 5 times the length of Mr. R's projector, and 5 times the width of Mr. R's screen. Okay, that's what I know from the NPR. Now, what do I circle here for Mr. Reitano's screen? So I'm going to say Mr. R screen. What do we know from that? We know that Mr. R's screen we circled is 4 feet long. So 4 feet long. We know that from the problem. We also know that the perimeter, I'm going to say the perimeter equals 14 feet. So we know that. A couple things we don't know, but we do know that from the problems. All right, so let's make our plan. In order to make a plan, guys, I'm gonna look at my model because this is a lot going on here. I know I have Mr. R's screen. I'm gonna go ahead and make a little rectangle to represent his screen. And I know from the problem it says that it's 4 feet long, so I'm gonna label one side 4 feet. That's the length, and then we don't know. Yeah, we're not sure about the width yet, but I do know that the perimeter is 14 feet. The NPR, I know it's bigger, so make a little bit bigger rectangle. I know that we said it's 5 times the length, so it looks like Mr. R's length is 4 feet. It's going to be 4 times 5, and then the width is going to be whatever the width is. When we figure that out from Mr. Reitano's, it's going to be that times 5 as well. Okay, so my plan is to first figure out the width of Mr. Reitano's screen. So I'm going to actually divide, all right? I'm going to divide because I know the perimeter is 14, but I want to know what half of that perimeter is. So I'm going to divide 14 by 2. Once I figure that out, I'll be able to get my unknown value. Once I know the length and width of Mr. Reitano's room, then I can find out the length and width of the NPR. And we're going to get that by multiplying. So I'm going to multiply next. Once I'm done multiplying to get my length and my width of the NPR screen, well, then we want to know what is the perimeter of the screen in the NPR. Then I'm just going to add all these up. So I can actually do two things here. I can add all these sides up to get the perimeter, or we also know that perimeter equals length plus the width. So we can add two sides together and just multiply that by 2. So that's another option. Okay, so let's solve this, guys. We have Mr. R's room, the NPR. So we said we're going to divide first. All right, so let's divide first. We know that the perimeter is 14 feet. So I'm going to divide 14 divided by 2, which I know is 7. Okay, so 7. So if this side is 4 feet, and I just divided the perimeter in half, and I know the perimeter is 14 feet, and the half of that 7, that means that half of my rectangle has to add up to 7. And I know 4 plus 3 equals 7. So 4 plus 3 equals 7, and then 4 plus 3 equals another 7, and that will add up to a perimeter of 14. So that makes sense. So now we have the length and width of Mr. Reitano's screen. Now let's go to the NPR screen. And we said our next step is going to be multiply. Okay, so if Mr. Reitano's length is 4 feet, I'm going to multiply that by 5 because it was 5 times longer. And 4 times 5 is 20, so the length is going to be 20 feet. Then I want to find the the width of the NPR. And the width we said is 5 times wider than Mr. R's room. Now we have the width of Mr. Reitano's screen of 3, and we know 3 times 5 equals 15. So the NPR room is 20 feet long and 15 feet wide. All right, cool. So now we can find out the perimeter. So the perimeter is going to be the length plus the width times 2. So if it's 20 plus 15, and then we're going to multiply that by 2. Let me see, 20 plus 15 is 35, and then 35 times 2 is 70. So the perimeter is 70 feet, and that's our answer. All right, and last but not least, guys, to solve the problem, let's think about what we did. All right, we divided, to solve the problem, I divided. Hey, Allie, can you scooch over just a little bit? I'm a righty, so I get in the way. My camera person, Allie. Thanks, Allie. To solve the problem, I divided Mr. R's perimeter to get the width. Let's think about that, guys. We divided 14 divided by 2, and we figured out that the width was 3, okay? And what do we do next? We multiplied. Next, we multiply the length and width by 5 to get the NPR. The NPR. Okay, and then lastly, guys, it looks like we added to get our perimeter. So I'm going to say lastly, we added and multiplied to get the NPR perimeter. It's a lot of work, guys. We got this. Therefore, I know, well, what do we know? The NPR's perimeter is 70 feet, so that's what I'm going to put. The NPR, the multi-purpose room, the multi-purpose room's perimeter is 70 feet. And that is our answer. All right, if you got it, you guys are awesome. If not, take a look at your work and compare it to mine, and we'll try again next week. Good job, guys.